Welcome to another episode of What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? I hope that you've been enjoying the previous episodes and that you're reading all and buying all those books that our authors have been telling you about. I'm Karen E. Osborne, if you haven't met me before, and I am the author of Getting It Right. And my upcoming novel is Tangled Lies, which comes out on July 22nd. I am so excited about our new guest because she writes in a genre that I love, love, love. And she also is a writer that I love, love, love. So this is going to be just a great conversation. I want you to meet AJ McCarthy. Hey, AJ.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
So AJ is an award-winning author. Just want to give you the official thing here, of wonderful suspense mysteries. And she has 4 novels, with her 5th coming out on June, called Faux Friends. And we're going to talk all about that. But before we talk about her writing, we're going to start where we always do, with what have you been reading? So do you have a recommendation for our audience?
Well, I have several. I don't know how many you'll let me make. I used to be, just as an aside, I used to be the type of person that only read the bestsellers. You know, David Baldacci, Harlan Coben, all the ones that I was sure I was going to be in for a good ride. Lately, I've turned to the independent writers, and a lot of them are the ones that write for the same company that I do, Black Rose Writing. So people are going to think this is set up, but it isn't, because Karen, I started reading your novel. Karen was nice enough to send me an advance reader copy of her novel, and I started reading it 2 days ago, and I love it. I haven't finished it yet, but I am so enjoying it. This is Tangled Lies. You said July, right? It's coming out. So
Yes.
it's very good. It will be among my novels to be recommended. Also, I've read 3 other novels for Black Rose writers. They're coming out this week. There's Payback Jack by Tim Sojka. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Really good suspense thriller novel. Really enjoyed it. There's a good women's fiction novel by Christina Consolino, Rewrite the Stars. Excellent. Ed Leahy, what's the name of his book? Past Grief. It's a police procedural, very good. I would recommend all of those novels. Really, there's a treasure trove of really good independently published novels that everyone should run out and buy.
Yeah, that's just a great, first of all, thank you. But that's what I have been experiencing too. And I know those of you who've been watching the series know that there are a number of independent novelists that I have interviewed, as well as people of all kinds of authors. But I agree that the Black Rose writing crew are pretty darn good.
They are really. I'm enjoying all.
How many of your novels have they published?
4
So all
have been
4.
published. The most recent one came out in November,
Yes.
and my next one is coming out in June.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
Wonderful. It's a wonderful, wonderful story. So, well, let's talk about it then. But before you talk about the books themselves, can you just share your writing journey with our audience?
Mhm.
Where did that start? How did you get interested in the genre that you write in? Just give us a little
Yeah.
insight.
Well, I read multiple genres. I like many different kinds of genres, but I always had a little something for mystery, suspense, thrillers. That was always at the top of my list. So it was about, actually, it's 17 years ago now that I just said, I'm going to try, and I probably won't get very far, but I'm going to give it a shot. And I started to write, and I kept writing until I completed a book, and I finished it. right away I got into another one, and now I just cannot imagine myself not writing. It's become such a part of who I am and what I enjoy doing that I couldn't imagine not doing it.
Hmm.
So I have a couple of books that are written and they're on a shelf or on my computer that have not been published. And someday I'll take them and I'll dust them off and I'll rewrite them and rework them. The first one that was published with Black Rose was in 2017, Sins of the Fathers. Followed that up in 2018 with Cold Betrayal, which was a book that I had written. Was one of the first books that I had written. And then Legacy of Fear was a more recent one. And then By the Book, I wrote that a good 10 years ago, I'd say. And I took it, I rewrote it, worked on it, and it came out in November of 2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you are really prolific. You're like Grisham, a book a year.
Hardly like Grisham. Everybody says, where do you find the time? But, I don't watch TV. So my evenings I spend writing. A good chunk of my weekends when I can, I spend writing. And yes, the pandemic is unfortunate in many, many different ways, but it has given me more time to write because we can't do anything else.
Yes, that actually, that you say that, I realize how much I used to travel, and I would try and keep up with my writing on the
Yeah,
airplanes,
yeah,
but it is when you're just stuck at home,
yeah,
you can be incredibly productive.
you
And
can.
still, because I know you have a big day gig, but it allows us to have more
Oh
flexibility
yeah,
of time, how we fit things
for
in.
sure, for
Uh,
sure,
do you-
definitely.
Are you like, are you a journaler? Do you journal as ideas come to you, or you just go straight to
Oh, well, yes, I'll
the
jot
computer?
down things. I'll jot down things when I think of them. If I have an idea for a book, I'll jot it down. Or I always keep a journal on my night table beside the bed, and I keep another one on my desk or in my purse. I always have something, and if I think of something, and I'll say, oh, I've got to write that down because I always say I'm not going to forget. I'll remember, but of course I forget. So I've learned not to do that. When I think of something, I write it down.
Yes, I keep
Definitely.
one in my purse. I keep one by the nightstand. I keep one in my office. And my grandson is a writer. My
Oh,
14,
nice.
my 14-year-old has written 2
Wow.
novels already. Oh my goodness. And I gave him a little journal. And I said, you just keep this in your back pocket. And when you hear a word, you see a face, you hear a description, an idea comes to you, you just pull it out.
Yeah.
So I did an interview with him,
Wow.
and he clearly doesn't remember that I gave him that idea, but he says, I keep a journal. And I find very, very
His advice to everyone else.
his advice to everybody, keep a journal. Well,
Oh,
tell us about, because you have a wonderful book coming out, but it's also a follow-on, isn't it,
it's
to another of
I
your
like
book?
to
Tell us
call it a
about it.
spin-off
A spin.
because it's a secondary character from Cold Betrayal who becomes the primary character in this book. So there's a little bit of backstory, but both books can be read alone without any problem. You don't have to read the first to read the second. But it is, I guess you would call it a series. I like to call it a spin-off. So the setting is, I live just north of Quebec City, Canada.
Mm.
So the setting is here in Quebec City. And it's the story of Chantal. Chantal is a police officer with the provincial police of Quebec. And because of something that happened to her in the past, she's on death duty now until she's deemed psychologically ready to go back to her regular job as a homicide detective. And so right now she's been given a cybercrime case, which she feels is kind of boring, but better than just sitting around and pushing paperwork. So she'll do it, and it'll be the next step. She'll be able to prove herself to her bosses. The cybercrime case veers off when she's almost killed and other people are murdered. And then she gets pulled into a case that's connected to the original case, but is a little bit more complicated and much more dangerous. So that's kind of the gist of how it goes without me giving away too much.
Yeah. Yeah. And tell everybody again the name.
It's Faux Friends.
Faux Friends. And do you happen to have I didn't ask you this before, if you had a picture of your cover with you.
No, I don't have a print copy yet.
Well, I will, when we post this, everybody will see, because we'll make sure that the cover is there for everybody, because I thought it was a really good looking.
Yes, it's a nice cover. Yes, I'm very happy with the cover. Yeah, yeah, David King does a great job.
Oh,
sure.
What are you working on next? What's after this?
After this, I'm also working on another spin-off. I've started it recently. Of course, as you know, when you're working on a book, preparing it for publication, there's a lot of work to do. So I started this book a while ago, and then of course I had to set it aside because I was getting Faux Friends ready for publication, and then finally the final copy goes off to the publisher. But then, you know, there's the approvals, there's the cover design, there's the marketing, all of that to work on. So finally I've gotten back to working on as yet untitled novel, which is a spin-off of Sins of the Fathers, which is the first book that was published by Black Rose. And it's set in Montreal, Quebec, and part of it's in Montreal and part of it is near Ottawa in the Gatineau Hills. So I'm excited about it. I'm having fun with it, really.
Yeah, I love the idea of a spin-off.
Yeah.
As opposed to every character is the same, you know, bringing out the different characters from the books. That's a great approach to it. I can't wait to read it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it'll, I don't know when it'll come out, but I have to finish writing it. I'm writing it.
It won't come out unless you finish writing it.
Exactly.
Where can our audience find out more about you? Can you tell them your website, your
I have a website. It's ajackmccarthy.com, all one word, ajackmccarthy. And so there you can get pretty much all the information about the books. Presently, the site is being redone, but the old site is still there. I'm anxious to have my new site up and running. But everything's there, and of course I have an Amazon author page. I have a Goodreads page and BookBub and all of those.
Excellent. And they can, if somebody wanted to be in touch with you, they could do that from your web page?
Yes, there's a contact.
Excellent. So if you have questions for our wonderful author, A.J. McCarthy, who has Faux Friends coming out in June
10th.
June 10th. Please go to her website and be in touch with her. And you know, you can find me at Karen E. Osborne Author on Facebook. You can find me on my YouTube channel, Karen E. Osborne, and you can find me on my website, KarenEOsborne.com. Thank you all so much for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time.